like to thank you all for coming here today to listen to our grievances regarding the City of Boston banning the outdoor dining program in the oldest neighborhood in the country, where many Italian immigrants and many Italian Americans have been coming since the 1800s. Not only are we the oldest neighborhood in the country, we are also the last remaining Italian neighborhood in the country, where we have become known as the Little Italy in the city of Boston. And also known in this country, but we're also known worldwide. And what keeps us Italian are the many Italian restaurants, the many Italian cafes, the salamerias, the pastry stores, and the bakeries. And without the outdoor dining program, the city has put us at a disadvantage to hire and to retain employees. And they've also put us at an economic disadvantage to compete as well, because people will be flocking to other outdoor patios in the neighborhoods throughout the city and won't be coming to the North End. In 2022, the City of Boston not only required the North End to pay a $7,500 fee and a $450 parking fee, but they also required us in our neighborhood to start at a later date and to also end at an earlier date than any other neighborhood. You tell me, where was the fairness in all of this? In 2023 and 24, currently, the City of Boston completely banned the outdoor dining program for the last remaining Italian neighborhood in the country for reasons that make absolutely no sense at all, and has caused our businesses an economic hardship, where some businesses are barely hanging on. You know, this is all very simple, not complicated at all. All we ever asked for was to be treated fairly and equitably. We do not want or expect anything more than any other neighborhood has. However, starting today, we will not accept anything less than any other neighborhood has. This stops today because, as you can see, we are all united and we are fed up, and we are not going to take this anymore. And I will turn this over to George, and he can talk more about the lawsuit.
Thank you very much all for coming today, especially all the people that are supposed to be at work who took time to be with us. We're not just a neighborhood of Italian Americans, we're a neighborhood of hardworking people. We employed over 6,000 people in the neighborhood from all walks of life, from all income brackets, and we are grateful that they are here today. Once again, the North End restaurants are left out in the cold for the outdoor patio season. We are not welcome to participate in the commerce that outdoor patios bring to us during the summer times, taking a competitive edge against other businesses in the area. We believe that that the actions from the mayor handicap us in providing for our businesses, reduce our income in the fruitful season of the summer, and devalue our seats, our indoor seats. When the city is flooded with seats, just like when you print money, the value of our commodity, the dining room seat, loses value. Okay, by keeping us out of the summer season last year, she debilitated the ability that we have to sustain the tough winters in Boston. We filed last night an amendment to the complaint that we filed on January 5th. And on that complaint, we added a couple of counts, and one of them is the 2024 season. Okay, we thought that perhaps in 2022, by agreeing to pay those fees, the mayor would have some sympathy for us and keep us included in the outdoor patio program. At the end of the season in 2022, we were allowed to stay open for one more month due to how prosperous and well-run the program was. And those are the words of the city. But in 2023, they canceled us outright. 2023 was the time where they decided that they were going to put a commission of neighbors and business owners to plan for the 2024 season. That's what they sold us. We're going to take 2023, the year of 2023, to plan the outdoor season for a neighborhood of a 1 square mile where only 4 streets have restaurants. And when that concluded, and the commission that was formed advised 6-5 the city to allow outdoor patio in the North End for the summertime, the city went ahead, crossed over those those votes and those opinions and decided to punish us in 2024 without the opportunity to compete with the rest of the city of Boston. What does that do for us? Well, it devalues our capacity to bring in income for our businesses, but it also devalues our contracts. It devalues the value of our licenses. It devalues the value of our businesses. If any of our businesses goes for sale and there's an equal business outside of the neighborhood, those businesses are more valuable because they have an ability to have almost 30% more seating outside. Okay, this is a slap on the face to all of us. The Italian American community of the North End has contributed enormously to the well-being of the city of Boston and to the progress that Boston has made. We're being excluded by an amateur who decided to apply for a job that she's not capable of delivering. She has done several things to us and to other people in the great city of Boston, including the folks in Roxbury, including the charter schools that now are exempt from entering venues that public schools are allowed to. The meeting for the electors of color only on our dime. Instead of having one Christmas party for everybody, she has Christmas party for her special interest groups with a complete disregard for the rest of us. This is a pattern. And anybody who doesn't see this pattern doesn't realize that our cities are at stake. The well-being of our neighbors is at stake. When she attacks us, because we happen to be of European descent, we happen to be an Italian-American neighborhood with Italian-American restaurants run by Italian-Americans, she's not just hurting us. She's hurting all the people behind me, people who come from all over the world to take a piece of that American dream, a piece of the pie that is going to the same piece of the pie that my family and the families of all the Italians here have enjoyed. We have embraced capitalism. We were a very poor neighborhood at a point in history. We got ourselves out of that by practicing commerce in our streets. We're a mixed-use neighborhood. There is no argument anybody can make against us because we are standing for what is right for our community. We are standing for what we have supported in our community. We have all contributed to all the causes that matter to the North End. We have we all contributed to the beautiful Columbus Park we have that no longer has a statue of one of our ancestors who did so much for the world. They are taking away our right to have Columbus Day and naming it Indigenous Peoples Day. This is an attack on a small ethnic minority of Europeans who's running businesses in Boston, who has done a proper job of it, who collects taxes for the city, who pays the same taxes as everybody else. We don't get a break on our licenses because we don't have outdoor patios. We don't get a break on our taxes because we don't have outdoor patios. We get no breaks. What we get is abuse. Another fact that everybody needs to know about is that in our investigation, and we took time to investigate what the city is doing, through the Freedom of Information Act, we found out that none of the points that the city has claimed against us are valid or are not taking place in other neighborhoods. Last year, 2023, we did not have an outdoor patio program in the North End. Nevertheless, the neglect from the city when it comes to pest control on the streets, garbage collection, and the upkeep of our neighborhood, okay, plagued us with problems that they claimed were due to the outdoor patios, and they continue to affect the neighborhood in greater ways. When the outdoor patios were open in the North End and everybody saw it, the neighborhood looked beautiful. Dining al fresco is a very popular thing throughout Italy, where the streets are a lot more congested than the North End. If anybody should have the right to hold on to their culture through our culinary arts and the way that we entertain people, should be Italian Americans. Okay? Again, not just affecting us, affecting all the people that stand behind me, which are a small portion of the people that work in the North End. As I said, there's over 6,000 people that come to work here every day. We cater to everyone. We open our doors to everyone. We have also, all of us, regardless of our political point of view, have learned to contribute and help the city of Boston achieve its goals. I've been in business for 30 years and I played a very big role with many others in our community here. Okay, all of our business owners contribute to our local public school, to the arts, to music, to our elderly. She's shutting us off. Okay, it's much more difficult for us to contribute. It's much more difficult for us to help when the city takes away our right to compete with other neighborhoods in Boston. She believes that by taking away from us, she can redistribute our wealth and our incomes by bringing those businesses to other people in other neighborhoods. We want to bring our know-how and how we got ourselves out of the trap of government handouts, rent control, okay, and the poverty that plagued that neighborhood through a bad public school without being able to educate our kids. And we want to take that message to other neighborhoods. Okay, we are the perfect example of what blueprint the city of Boston should use to lift minority neighborhoods around the city. And yes, we are a minority. We're Italian Americans. Okay, we are the only neighborhood of Italian Americans in Boston. Okay, we are one of the old working class neighborhoods of Boston. If I remember, Charlestown was a poor working class neighborhood of Irish, the North End was a poor working class neighborhood of Italians, and so forth. We contributed to building the city. We contributed to giving these folks a chance to run the city for us and to manage affairs for us. They work for us, we don't work for them. She is not a monarch, she is not an autocrat. She is an elected mayor of the city, the elected manager for the people of Boston. We deserve better. We deserve to be included in the picture. We have contributed enormously. We're one of the biggest attractions in the city of Boston. We're not just Italian Americans, we're here, and we chose this place because the guy behind me, Paul Revere, fought for the rights of people in Boston years ago and helped found this country. Okay, we are the same people. We walk the same streets. We are the heirs of the Sons of Liberty. We want that same liberty, we want that same freedom, and we want equal treatment for the people of the North End. And we like equal treatment for the people of Boston. We are not asking for anybody to be treated less or anybody to be treated more. We want to be treated equally. In a time where there's so much talk, okay, so much bull about diversity, equity, and inclusion, the prophet of that message decides that the North End is not worthy of that. We'd like to know what. The reason why we went forward filing a lawsuit against the city is because we like the courts to engage in a conversation with us and the city of Boston to see what is the root of her position. Why hasn't she taken the chance to meet with us, to talk to us, to realize how it affects us? And why are we electing officials to the city of Boston that don't know the first thing about the economy? Devaluing our businesses devalues our neighborhood. Does she have anything else in mind? Does she want to turn the North End into the Seaport or North Station or Downtown Crossing? All development disasters that are not serving the city of Boston. Okay, Downtown Crossing is dangerous. Luxury living in Downtown Crossing did not work out. North Station is empty. The buildings that they plotted to fill with workers are not there. The only time that North Station works is when there's games. The Seaport has become a carousel of businesses that can't afford to pay those high rents. And luxury living has become a transitional way of living in Boston without having family roots planted, without having strong communities like ours. Okay, we're completely against her agenda. We're completely against the fact that she's attacking us, okay, gratuitously. Okay,
George,
we embrace government.
Could I ask you, they're saying that this is a congested neighborhood, it's much more congested than the other neighborhoods. What's your response to that, a safety issue?
Well, you know, the mayor likes to talk without her information to back her. Okay, and therefore what we did, because we are business people and we try to act in a business fashion, we did a big study before we open our mouths. Okay, we did a study of comparison to other parts of the city, and we also did a study that we have pictures of our neighborhoods from the sky, satellite pictures of our neighborhoods, where we have measurements, engineer measurements of all our streets and all our sidewalks. We don't happen to be the most congested neighborhood in the city. Okay, and that's a fact. And the fact is proved by the research we did. We don't happen to be the dirtiest neighborhood in the city. And that's a fact. We can prove that with the research we did. We are not the most infested neighborhood with rats on our streets. And that's a fact. And you know where is the most infested area of Boston with rats? City Hall Plaza. City Hall Plaza made privilege to us by the people who do the exterminating in Boston.
Can I clarify, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this, are you still allowed tables on the sidewalk if you have 11 feet of clearance? And on the flip side of that, do most restaurants not have 11 feet of clearance?
The North End does not have 11 feet of clearance on the sidewalks. Okay, the outdoor patios on the parking spots do not affect the neighborhood adversely. As a matter of fact, they painted the neighborhood a beautiful palette of dining tables, people enjoying outdoor dining. We did a survey when we started this research, and we got 37,000 people in support of outdoor patios in the North End. I want everybody to keep in mind that the North End has 10,000 citizens living in it, okay? 10,000. The association has been against us from the get-go, NURA, North End Waterfront residents associations with a big emphasis on waterfront. Okay, waterfronts were empty warehouses years ago. That's where rich people live. Okay, those people have deep pockets and they like to fight the working class of Boston, the Italian Americans who made this neighborhood appealing enough for them to move in it. Okay, those folks claim, about 50 of them, that can decide for the rest of us. What I call them is super citizens. The city of Boston has granted NURA super citizen status. Their votes count more than ours, their contributions count more than ours, and their opinion trumps ours. We like to know where in politics and where in the founding of this nation, okay, did super citizens come along?
So 11 feet on the sidewalk is allowed, but you're saying no restaurant.
11 feet on the sidewalk, well, let me put it this way. We don't know what's allowed. Okay, we don't know what's allowed because the mayor has done a very good job of sending a foggy message. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. In 2022, when we were all addressed via Zoom about the outdoor patio program, and all I mean the city of Boston in general, all the restaurants in Boston, at the end of the meeting, the announcement came, as you know, we were excited of what was coming. The announcement came that it was going to be different for the North End. Okay, at the end of the meeting. Very short before the season started, the announcement was made that we were going to be paying fees, very high fees. Some restaurants in the North End, some restaurant owners in the North End have spent over $100,000 because they have multiple businesses. A restaurateur like me spent $40,000 to get set up in front of Richmond Street. How much money do people think we make? What's the profit margin of a restaurant right now? It's 8%, 9%, 10%. If you are a shrewd business owner. Okay. Minimum wages are killing us. The cost of goods is killing us. The rising cost of our rents, that it is plotted in a city where there's a number of seats, okay, it's hurting us because we're not being able to use the number of seats that we have during the fruitful season, which is the summer. Okay. This is exactly what happens when the city of Boston and the few that vote elect an amateur. Okay, they elected an amateur. They elected somebody who's obviously in over her head. Okay, it's that simple. All right. How is it? How do we justify? Okay, and I'm quoting city officials here. We are going to take the 2023 issue to set up a proper plan. Okay, to serve the neighborhood of the North End for the outdoor patio season in 2024. How many years does Mayor Wu need to have a dialogue or to set up a plan to embrace a neighborhood in the outdoor patio program that was first designed by Charlie Baker and to allow small businesses in the North End, restaurants, okay, to make up the losses of the pandemic. Okay, the rest of the city gets granted time to continue to do that. 2022, with the cost of that summer, the high cost to many of us was not profitable for us. It did not help us. Why does she feel that it's necessary to stomp on the businesses of the North End? Okay, to put us aside, to neglect us, to impair us from competing with others. She's breaking all sorts of laws. There's commerce laws that she's breaking. Okay, we are not the only ones suffering the consequences. We are one of the biggest purchasers in the country of Italian goods. Those goods come from Europe. They are distributed for people in our state. They are distributed for people in Rhode Island, in New York, and across the country.
Hey, George, what do you say to people who live in the North End, who could be Italian American, who side with the mayor, who don't want that kind of congestion in the North End?
What I tell them is simple, you know, and I want to remind them all, okay, because it seems that people have short memories at times, okay? First of all, I want to tell you there's very few Italian Americans that don't like sitting outside and having their coffee outside on the sidewalk, okay? Very few. So Italian Americans are not part of the people who are really against us. The people who are really against us are newcomers who decided that they love the romance of the North End, but at a certain point they got tired of it, okay? So that's what we're fighting with. Most Italian Americans enjoy the things that are privy to their culture. Like I said, al fresco dining is very popular in Italy where streets are way more congested. Okay, so that's not the issue. The issue again is, and I believe that is part of her agenda. Her agenda is to redistribute wealth. I'll give you an example. When the Boston Visitors and Tourist Bureau does their advertisement every year, they get federal funding, they get city funding, okay? In 2022, the mayor did not include the North End. Okay, well, we know that her party is against history, so we can tell that perhaps Paul Revere and the Old North Church and what happened here historically offends her. Maybe that's one of the things. But it also is an attack on Italian American businesses. Okay, and just keep this in mind, all right? If tomorrow all outdoor patios were canceled in the North End, we will go back to business as usual. Okay? Business as usual, what does that mean? We were all competing for the number of seats we have, and our seats indoors will be valuable again. I'll give you an example. When open windows came, the guy who didn't have open windows didn't do any business. So what happened? The whole city's restaurants opened up their windows. Okay? Well, this is very similar. Okay? On a sunny day, 75 degrees, you can dine in the waterfront, you can dine across the Greenway, on the other side of Hanover Street, that they count as part of the North End when they count the number of restaurants. But they have privileges we don't. Okay? The new chef who has the hamburger joint there is getting outdoor seating, ungraded outdoor seating, ungraded hours for outdoor seating. Okay? Anybody who applies for a project in the North End who's not from the North End gets special treatment. A 3 o'clock closing hour on Salem Street for a Mediterranean restaurant that is not Italian. Okay? The rest of us don't. The rest of us have to go through loops to beg to come out with our hands out for what is rightfully ours.
Do you think her policies will eventually put small businesses out of business around the city?
Her policies have already put small business out of business. I'm going to tell you whom. Okay, as we're all getting older. Many of us restaurateurs are at the second or third half of our careers. Okay, many of those people have decided to sell and move on. It is too difficult to make a buck. Okay, when you're at 65 in the kitchen cooking because you can't afford the wages because you don't have the opportunity to compete. Okay, in whose interest is it to bankrupt the Italian neighborhood of the North End, the Little Italy? In whose interest? Let me give you another example. We have the first building that is going to exceed 55 feet where the old Eastern Baker Supply used to be. The project is already approved. Okay, what is next? A 65-foot building on Salem Street? Who's involved? Our government, who's been at flawed in developing the city, okay? Developers and outside money. Okay, you tell me where we're going with this. What is the purpose? And those are the questions we have, and those are the questions we hope, okay, when our case goes to court, we get answered.
When are you going to court, do you know?
When we file a complaint, the city asks for 45 days to review our filings. They are going to, assumingly, as they spoke, they are going to be asking for a dismissal of the case on some grounds on Monday. We hope that the court, okay, doesn't side with big government, doesn't side with progressive agendas, and it sides with the citizens and lets us make our case. Okay, let's make our case.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is there any estimate of how much revenue has been lost by not having outdoor dining here in the North End?
Definitely, I can tell you, not from everybody else, but definitely last summer I lost over $200,000. So yeah, definitely a lot of revenue.
Yep.
So 200,000 for one restaurant. Multiply that times how many restaurants?
How many restaurants? Yeah.
Millions.
And I have small restaurants. I mean, my restaurants aren't big, so yeah.
Millions of dollars, guys. Millions of dollars. And not just millions of dollars for us. Okay. Millions of dollars. We collect meals taxes for the city and for the state. Millions of dollars that could be used for the things that the city needs. Okay? Millions of dollars. Denying people in Boston to profit from the commercial activity of a neighborhood for no reason. Okay? For no reason. It's a long list of wrongs. Okay? And it's a long list of concessions in our behalf. Okay? Newbury Street is no wider than Hanover Street, and it's not less congested. Okay? Other parts of the city have equal or greater problems that we do. They claim that the 311 calls were greater in the North End than everywhere else. Facts prove otherwise. We've got their records. It is not true. The North End have far less calls than other parts of the city. We were not first, we were not second, we were not third. We were fourth or fifth in that list. Okay? So again, attacking a neighborhood just because, or attacking a neighborhood because the president said white supremacy is the worst threat to America? Is it because Elizabeth Warren, when this happened, called us white men and she should not put her guard down? Is it because of the leader of the Democratic Party in Massachusetts called us MAGA Republicans? All assumptions. Okay, we live in Boston. We're Bostonians. I mean, we tend to be a lot more liberal than they paint us to be. Okay, this is again, it's a slap on the face to the people in Boston. Okay, you have to keep in mind that in addition to losing funding, we are at a different position than the mayor. We pay for our legal advice. We pay for our PR advice. Okay? She uses our tax dollar to defend herself. Okay? She seems to have very deep pockets when she plays with other people's money. Okay? But we are financing ourselves. Okay? We are the little guy. We're just like that guy who took that horse around and called on that the English are coming, the redcoats are here. Well, the redcoats are there. Okay? We're not a communist state. We are a democratic city. She was elected to manage our affairs. She was not elected to pick and choose who wins and loses. We want a right to compete, okay? The same rights that are granted to us by the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts, and the laws that are behind all those statements. Okay, we are asking for the right to compete equally. You have to understand that when you introduce outdoor patio programs to a city and you segregate one neighborhood, that neighborhood loses value. And to the neighbors who come up out of the little underground parking garages from the waterfront that live in their million-plus condominiums, okay? Those places wouldn't be as valuable as they are today if we hadn't been here first. Okay, there was a time in history that nobody wanted to look at the North End. Okay, it was a place where we lived, where we, the poor people of the North End, got themselves out of the misery of a government handout. Okay, now that the neighborhood is nice, now that the neighborhood is pretty, now that the neighborhood is vibrant, we have those who decided that the romanticism of the North End was why they wanted to move here. They want to tell us how to live. They want to tell their working class people. And again, I want to make an emphasis on that. We are the working class people of Boston. The Democratic Party of Boston was always the working class people party. What party is she serving? Or is she serving herself? You know what I say? Mayor Wu plays political bingo. Okay, and in political bingo, you have your political bingo card and you have to fill it. And how do you fill it? I'll give you an example. All the money that was raised here in the neighborhood was supposed to come back to the neighborhood. Well, we were extortioned, and the people who stood on her side were lied to, and they were double-crossed. You know what she used the money for? She bought herself one of the bingo pieces, something for the Great Green New Deal, an electric street sweeper. We have pictures of that street sweeper sweeping streets all over the city of Boston, not the North End. Okay, we know from our research that she spent an endless amount of money. Okay, the money that she said that was being collected from us in unfair tax, okay, on the people of Boston, of the North End of Boston, of the North End City of Italy, and it was going to be used to improve the living situation in the North End, to actually compensate her for the services that she's already supposed to be delivering. Clean streets, well-lit streets, safe streets, and proper garbage collection. None of the things that she wants to do. Our local businesses pay for 7 nights a week pickup of garbage. Our garbage is not on the streets for more than 4 to 5 hours. The neighbor's garbage sits on the street from 5 p.m. in the afternoon, in the early evening, till sometime in the next day, where the contractor for the city comes over and picks it up. They don't pick up the recycling with it, they leave the recycling behind. The recycling gets blown all around the neighborhood. And then we are supposed to pick up the tab for the cleanup. Okay, she's lying to us, she's lying to the people in Boston. Okay, enough with the lying. Okay, if she cannot do her job, she should sign off. Okay, we should open it up for election and we should get somebody competent that can run the city of Boston. The city of Boston, okay, is not a monument. The city of Boston is not a club. The city of Boston is not a pet project. The city of Boston is a place, an economic and social ecosystem where people earn a living, support their families. Okay, I have my family, my children, and I have another 40 families that work for me, who I maintain, support, train, okay, and open to a greater positions in the future. Many of my people have become business owners themselves. Many of our employees are taking part in the American dream, buying homes, raising their families, making their choices. The mayor of Boston has no right to do what she's doing to us and vicariously doing to all these people behind me, okay, who are not here because it's a nice sunny day. They are here because they are fed up, tired of being taken advantage of. Okay, we're being put at a huge disadvantage. It affects people from all communities. Okay, it affects all the people that come to work here. It affects the way that we live here. It affects what we can put on the table of our families. It affects how we pay our mortgages, how we pay our rents, how we pay our taxes. Okay, Nowhere does it say in our Constitution, let's elect government to oppress people. Otherwise, we're all privy to the same slice of the pie. We're all privy to the same opportunities. And let competition decide who does better or who does worse. Not a government.
You know, the North End residents are really going to be disillusioned when they find out that the $500,000 that was collected from our fees in 2022 never came back to the North End. I mean, imagine that these people that sided with Mayor Wu for not having outdoor dining are going to find out all that they were promised, all that money that was supposed to come back to the North End went to other neighborhoods, not to the North End. So they're going to be disillusioned when they find that out, and I think they're going to start changing their mind because they thought that $500,000 that was collected was coming back to this neighborhood, and it wasn't. And all we've ever asked for was to be treated fairly. We don't want anything more than anybody else has, any other neighborhood has. We just want the same. We're not asking for anything more. We're not asking for anything less. We just want the same. We don't want to be left out. We just want to be treated fairly.
One of the things that I feel that the mayor is afraid of, okay, and I think I speak for myself and to many of my colleagues, we are a neighborhood of independent thinkers, a dying breed, okay? Government rather deal with big corporations than the small business owner, okay? We are the small business owner and the small business women and the small business families, okay? Behind every one of these signs, there's a family attached to it. Okay, there's a family with kids, there's a family with mortgages, there's a family with hope and dreams. Okay, she does not have the right to squash our dreams, to impair us from providing for our families. I gotta tell you, this winter, we had mild weather and everything else, the neighborhood suffered enormously. And is it our fault? No, we are suffering economically. The whole country is suffering economically. Inflation is taking away from people's budget. And what do you cancel first? Entertainment. Okay, now in the summertime when we're flooded with tourism from Europe and from the rest of the country, that we can all benefit from that, we are excluded. Okay, so this winter was that much more painful. Without snow, without big storms, it was that much more painful. Because not unlike the people before us, okay, not unlike the Paul Revieres of the past and the people who lived here before, we live in a northern state. There's a winter season. We are just like farmers. We plant our seeds in the spring, we collect our crop in the fall, and we live off those goods in the winter. Okay, what she did last year to us put us all in peril. All of us in peril. You know, and attach that to the bad economy the country is suffering from the same policy she's pushing here on us, and we find ourselves in a binder.
So will you abide by how this lawsuit turns out, however the courts decide?
We're going to, you know, if the court decides against us, which is a possibility, as anything in life is a 50-50 chance, we're going to take it to a higher court. And if that higher court listens to us, very well. If not, we're going to ask a court higher than that one. Okay. You know, we understand, we know where we live. Okay, we know what we're dealing with. Okay. Progressive governments in Massachusetts are not new. All right, we have Menino, we have Walsh, but they treat us with a little bit more dignity. Okay. I'm going to tell you something. For example, the comment that she made at the Irish breakfast, okay, where they said they gave me the mafangul. All right, and I'm repeating it and I'm ashamed of doing it because it's an insult in Italian. Okay, it's an insult. And nobody gave her the mafangul. She gave us the mafangul. Okay, and if you Google it and translate it, okay, because that's what she did to us. All right, that's what she did to us. She comes sober with her little smile, talking about a husband that might have some Italian lineage, this and that and the other thing, okay? And then again, she stabs us in the back. But, all right, we're not alone in that. She did the same to the people who support her. The same exact thing to the people who supported her. She crossed the local people who supported her, who lobbied for her to charge us astronomical fees to operate, and she took that money and she gifted herself the bingo piece for the Great New Deal.
George,
what is
the Boston Globe has a question.
So compared to the original lawsuit, what exactly are the amendments you're going to be asking for in this one?
Well, we're adding 2024 formal retaliation on her behalf. I mean, we felt, first of all, we felt that by withdrawing the first lawsuit while the city promised that they were going to be planning for the 2023, for the 2024 season, we thought that we were giving some wiggle room, an opportunity to do the right thing. That was an act of goodwill in our behalf. She didn't take that in goodwill, you know. She went ahead and she doubled down and shut us down, okay? Then we decided, okay, let's research. Let's see why is it that the city of Boston is shutting us down. We got 60,000 emails and communications through the Freedom of Information Act, and we found out that it was all a sham. We found out it was all lies. We found out that the facts that they were quoting, I'll give you an example. The tunnel and the Charleston Bridge project are going to congest the neighborhood too much. We can't allow it. Well, the study that the Massachusetts Highway Department did says otherwise. Okay, so what study was she looking at?
But what's different here? What are the amendments for this round?
Again, we're putting claims for 2024. Okay, I have a list of them here. Let me tell you. The lack of transparency that she's done over this period. We are also we added the fact that the commission for outdoor patio was a complete sham. Again, there was three business owners. There was a bunch of neighbors and 2 members of NURA. The members of NURA hijacked the meeting, took the first half hour of the meeting. The other folks came up to a conclusion. They voiced their conclusion to the authorities, to the government, and the government decided that their findings were not true. Those 6 people who signed in favor of the North End wrote a letter, signed the letter, and sent it to the city. And regardless, they went back to their script. And I'm going to tell you why. There was no intentions of giving us outdoor patios in 2024. Okay, the intentions were simple. Smoke screen. Let's put a commission together. Okay, let's get those people involved. And let's make it impossible for them to come up to a conclusion that is going to favor the businesses. Okay? When that backfired on them, they went ahead and they decided that wasn't what happened. That's why those people who were involved, including a neighbor and some business people and other members of that group, they went ahead and they sent a letter saying, hey, we voted 6-5 to allow outdoor patios. Okay? But that wasn't good enough for her. Okay? Yeah. Thank you very much for coming, guys. We appreciate it. Sorry it took such a long time. I hope that you can do us some justice. Okay, we're asking for your help. Okay, we're asking for the media to do the right thing. This is not something to spin. We're not politicians. We're not standing on one side or the other one. We are the working class people of Boston. Okay, asking for your help to proclaim our message out. And to have the people of Boston realize that the mayor of Boston is against us today. She's already ganging up against the people in Roxbury. And she's going to do the same thing to whoever allows her to promote herself in the progressive agenda of the Democratic Party. Thank you very much.